Alright, no one stole my bike. If they did, they wouldn't have a seat anyway. Time to get this thing back on the trail, which is about 50 feet over there, and ride down, and hopefully my brakes work.
Hi, I'm Michael. I grew up climbing mountains, and it's my mission to find adventure and seek out beautiful places. Hey everyone, so it is really early in the morning, and today's mission is to take this bike back there that I just got at Walmart last night up to about 14,000 feet and see how it works. Heading to a place called White Mountain Peak here in California, and I've never done anything like this before, so I'm pretty excited. Even though I'm operating on about 4 hours of sleep right now, we'll see how I fare. There's a dirt road almost all the way to the summit, from what I've heard. You could cycle on it. I was going to try to bring my road bike, mostly road bike, I should say. It's got some 25 mil tires. I don't think that's going to work on this trail. So I just picked up this bike for about $250 US from Walmart. So I'm just curious to see how the bike holds up and how I hold up trying to cycle at a very high altitude. Alright, so first battle of the trip. I forgot my food at home. Luckily I'm only maybe 3 minutes away, so I'm just going to swing by and get it. That would be not good not to have food. So I go back home, I pick up my food, and drive over to my friend's house. We pack both our bikes up in his Montero, and we start driving over for the Sierra Nevada mountains. And about an hour and a half into the drive, it becomes clear to us that the weather conditions today are just spectacular. The visibility is probably a couple hundred miles, which is in stark contrast to just maybe 3 weeks earlier. I was up in the area and it was just blanketed with smoke from all the wildfires here in California. Most of the 14ers in California are in the Eastern Sierra corridor, so we've been driving past most of them our way up. And then when you start driving up to White Mountain Peak, it's actually in a mountain range about 30 miles east of the Eastern Sierra. And so as you're driving up, you get this spectacular view of the Eastern Sierras. Montero for the win. About to pass our next victim. Mimi. Oh,
it's gonna be awesome.
Now that must be White Mountain Peak over there.
Just all these patches of snow.
This is amazing, Alpine. So we finally made it to the road closed gate. Right there. So this is what $250 buys you from Walmart. It is not rigid. It's got these front shocks that I just did a little test drive, just bottom out like nothing. It's got a front disc brake that kind of stops you. Definitely needs some adjustment. And it's got a rear V brake. It's got, it is this 3 sprocket in the front by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the back. So 21 speed. It's a Shimano, but kind of a lower end Shimano. It's got these giant 29-inch tires, which I was stoked for. And one thing is it was advertised as being for a 6-foot tall rider. But when I adjusted the seat to the top of where it would go, it was not quite high enough for my comfort, and I'm 6'2", so I actually stole this seat off my Trek 2000 for today's ride, just to be a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, so last night I did a bunch of adjustments just to double check. Didn't want to get onto the trail and find that, you know, the brake cables are loosely connected or the stem's not tight. And we're ready to go.
Little scared for the altitude. Never biked this high, but we've got this beautiful view of the Eastern Sierra. Let's go. So we're here at the first little break. Ended up walking the bike after about the first 50 feet up the hill, just because I wasn't going faster than I would walk. And I was like, why spend all this extra energy? But the view's amazing. We got a long way to go. All right, so we're here, second break, about 13,000 feet, maybe a little less. Made it to the observatory. It was pretty cool. And then earlier we passed a research station where people can sleep, and I don't really know what they research up here. I mean, clearly an observatory, so probably something in the sky, obviously. But it's pretty awesome, like alpine terrain up here. The road got a little bit rougher, and then we encountered some snow, which is gonna be fun on the way down because I've never ridden a bike in snow before. And looking ahead, it looks like the road is just inundated with snow, so we'll see if that's gonna be rideable or whatnot, but we'll figure it out. So the first section of like downhill snow, super fun. The bike works good in the snow. It just doesn't work very well going downhill.
It doesn't look very good at stopping.
Well, yeah, my friend says it doesn't work very good at stopping, and I'll have to get a close-up of this when we're done. The rear brakes have basically worn through in maybe 150 yards of downhill climbing. I mean, you get what you pay for, right? Luckily the front seem to still be holding, but I only have front brake and it kind of works, so I'm sketched out. Not sure if I'm gonna take the bike all the way to the top or not. We'll find out. So we make it to the other side of this valley, and we're still pushing our bikes because it just doesn't make sense to pedal where we're at. We're just constantly going through these pockets of snow, and it's just really labor intensive to try to pedal your bike through the snow. So we're just ending up kind of pushing the bike through the snow, which is exhausting us out even more. Well, we're one bike down. I abandoned the Walmart bike back there because I didn't want to risk the front brake going out on the last 1,000-foot little descent there. It seems to be a bit steeper. But he's trooping along. He's gonna hopefully make it to the top and have a fun ride down. I'm just hoping my brakes don't cut all the way out on that last 2,000 feet. That would not be fun. Now it's a hike about 2 miles from the top, 1,200, 1,300 vertical feet. Right, and so we were feeling really confident early on, going pretty quick, and now we're just kind of breathe stepping. We noticed our progress is just slowing, and so we decided, all right, we're going to call it early as opposed to just reaching our 4 p.m. summit time and being maybe 200 vertical feet from the summit and then maybe making a bad decision. Let's just call it now. Yeah.
I want to do that in the dark. And I kind of want to enjoy that ride, actually.
Yeah, right?
Enjoy that ride.
Oh.
And I've got to bring a case for my lenses.
Oh, dang.
So
it'd be harder to ride down in the dark because you're gonna have the shades on them.
no, I would pop the shades off because there's no way I'm gonna ride in the dark with the shades, but they're gonna get
They're scratched up.
get destroyed. My bad.
Yeah, I didn't bring my case either, so
As long as it's light out. All right.
yeah, we should be
All right.
good.
All right.
The view is so amazing up here. All right, well, let's get the final altitude reading. 13,330 feet. turning around because we're not going to make pace to make our summit time. Well, 4 p.m. is our turnaround. Our bikes, we left them over there somewhere. And we're going to have a fun ride down, that's for dang sure. Come back another day to do the summit. Sick. Let's do it. Alright. No one stole my bike. If they did, they wouldn't have a seat anyway. Time to get this thing back on the trail, which is about 50 feet over there, and ride down, and hopefully my brakes work. We did have this thought when we were walking down. Does this bike say not intended for like off-road use or anything like that? So I'm gonna look real quick. It says meets US Consumer Product Safety Commission regulations for bicycles. Always wear a helmet. Make sure stem and pedals are tight. Check your brakes. Do not ride at night. Made in China. Nowhere on this bike do I see a place where it says it's not rated for what we're doing for it, which is, you know, off paved road. It's, you know, standard kind of mountain biking stuff. And yet, within less than 30 minutes of riding this thing downhill, the rear brakes, check this out, they're already getting a little groove. So you can imagine how fast these are going to wear out. And that's on both sides. It's conforming to the shape of the tire. So I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to tighten up that rear brake. We're going to see if it wears even more, or maybe it was just the initial bit was conforming to the shape of the tire. I don't know. The front tires still feel like they did. Maybe a little less. I'm really hoping the front brakes are going to hold out. It's only like 2,000 vertical feet down.
And so probably the first 2/3 of this descent is mostly this kind of rock garden with patches of snow. And after probably the first quarter mile, I discovered my bike is just gonna be perfectly fine going over this terrain with those 29-inch tires. They just eat up everything.
Finally I'm able to actually film me on the bike. I didn't bring any mounts for my GoPro, so we weren't able to get any really action shots. This is the only section of the trail that's been smooth enough to actually hold a camera and film. And surprisingly, the Walmart bike is doing fantastic on the downhill, besides the issues with the brakes, which is a pretty important... Sorry about that, I had to break there. Which is a pretty important issue. But yeah, like these 29-inch tires are like just going over rocks like so easily. And this is my first time mountain biking in a long time, so that probably has something to do with it. But yeah, there's sections of the trail higher up where, you know, I'm kind of holding down the front brake. I have no rear brake, by the way. That's gone now completely. I'm holding down the front brake and I'm not able to actually stop myself. It's keeping me maybe at, I don't know, 8 miles an hour. And like that's slow enough to maneuver over some of the terrain. Thank goodness. But like I'm not able to actually stop on some of the steeper sections. So that's a little scary thing about only having this front brake that's not super good as a brake, I guess. But man, it's still been a blast out here today. And oh, I gotta go over this. Oh, it's like a little bump. It's nothing. Ah! I was looking at the camera instead of the road. Oops. I'm almost back to the car and I want to enjoy this last section of trail, so I'm gonna put away the camera. See you later.
So we finally get back to the car after what must have been about a 6-hour day, most of that time spent pushing the bikes uphill, just getting exhausted. But I have to give credit where credit's due. The Walmart bike, even though it did have some issues with the brake and the seat height, it did make it up and down that trail. And rolling over the terrain, it did superb, even though it definitely wasn't as smooth as, you know, maybe a more mid-range bike. It made it down just fine, and I didn't crash a single time, which I was very thankful for, me being a complete amateur. I want to clarify, the rear brake wasn't like completely gone. Like there were still bits of the pad. It's that the pad had worn through so fast that I would have had to continue to pull in the brake cable to keep tightening that V-brake to continue to have any sort of rear brake. Anyway, that's the end of the video, guys. I wish I'd been able to capture more footage, but that just means I'll have to go back probably next year and capture some more footage and actually summit this thing. Please drop a comment below if you happen to be a mountain biker and have a recommendation on a mid-level mountain bike, because now I'm kind of addicted and I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for something used. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.